So, with Sukuna's recent rampage, everybody is shook at who will save our main cast. Is it Yuta, Yuruzu, Hikari, a group team up, maybe even Maki? But the real savior, the real step up, the real person to put pressure onto Sukuna is Kashimo. Have you lost your Kashimo stocks? Because as an investor, I have reinvested with even more because I know Kashimo is about to deliver. Madara versus my guy. Well, have you met Sukuna versus Kashimo? Because this is going to be the perfect example of Sukuna getting pressured by a real hooper. Now you're probably like, wow, did you not see Sukuna one-tap Ryu? If Kashimo meets him, he's going to get one-tap. No, he's not. Listen, you guys are thinking too much about power scaling. And even though this is a series where power scaling is important, forget power scaling. Trust me, just hear me out. First, there is no way Kashimo, who's had all this anticipation for a one-time curse technique, is just going to stroll up and get blitzed by Sukuna. First, his whole character arc is, I want to fight Sukuna. Now, I've already said this in a video where I went into depth why I think it would be a fight that obviously would go mid, high diff, whatnot, and it would allow Kashimo to showcase a lot more to Sukuna. But with the recent chapters, everyone's lost track, you know, they've jumped off the boat. They're like, oh, Kashimo's going to get the same way Ryu did, because people assumed Ryu and Kashimo are relative. But what they don't realize, that's just base. We haven't seen true Kashimo. And you best believe, if Kashimo gets even one hit before he uses his one-time curse technique, oh, Hikari stocks have just risen to the roof because he's already better than Ryu, and I would not be entertaining you niggas talking about Ryu's gonna box up Hikari, because yeah, we're done with all of that. Finished. But listen, Kashimo has chance to really showcase to us not only the intricacies of the power system, but a potential binding valve that can really push sorcerers higher. I think what's intriguing about this whole clash is, well, it has set up for the part of there feels as if there is no hope against Sukuna. And this is where I'm going to insert a chart of the flow of storytelling. We're at the all hope is lost part. And now with the all hope is lost part, we're going to get that ascension where we begin to see things change. And I think Yuruzu is going to be the last person in that all hope is lost till we begin the revitalization of our main cast and really begin to cook. And I think Kashimo is going to be the person who really spearheads that. Is going to push 15 Fingers Sukuna the most. Why do I think so? You're probably like, you're still crazy. You haven't given me any evidence. Well, like I said, forget power scaling. I just don't think Gege is going to do his boy Kashimo dirty. And I mean, Kashimo, the electric guy, is going to cook. And I think it's not just about the stocks. It's about the fact that a one-time curse technique, like this, bear in mind, this is going to be the first time we've seen that in JJK. I doubt he's going to let us die, but I mean, you really never know in this case. But I'm just so confident in the fact that Kashimo is going to be the person to push Sukuna, at least 15 Fingers Sukuna the most, because it just seems perfectly set up with the amount of doom that has been happening recently. We saw Yuji and Maki team up, and they were against a Sukuna who had his output limited, his movement limited, and it was fluctuating and whatnot. At the worst, it gets below 10%. Sometimes it's 10%. Sometimes it's higher than 10%. And he was doing smiling, two-handed, you know, back and forth with them. Like, brother, it wasn't looking good. Then he went and pulled up to Ryu and Uru. Uru had PTSD, started running, said, I don't want none of this business. And Ryu got cut into three. And then now Yuzu, and obviously at this moment of time, Yuzu hasn't fought. But I'm assuming eventually Yuzu's about to be a victim. So, these are a couple strong sorcerers that we have just been shown, and they've all been dealt with easily. But this is exactly why. To push the stocks for Kashimo. The only way to make this fight even more satisfying is for the eventual downfall of all these characters from before. There's a very key reason why Yuta Okotsu is currently not here, because there are people who still believe Yuta can cook. But in my personal opinion, Yuta's fate is very tied to Kenjaku, and I don't really think Yuta wants any smoke with Sukuna personally. But regardless of that, it's going to be the perfect example of showcasing how much the power system can be expanded upon. Throughout the Cunning games, we've had focus on enforcement, output, curse energy manipulation. And now even things such as domains, We've really seen them to get even more fleshed out. Of course, we're still in a situation where we need more fleshing out, because there's a reasons why us as the fan base are constantly having debates on output versus reinforcement, or what does output, does it really affect your speed and physical stats? All of that can really get explained, even though I do believe there is enough evidence in the story to indicate that output does affect your physical stats. Nevertheless, what it can really do is build up on more into one of the most intriguing things of binding vows, if that is what the restriction is for his one-time curse technique. Not only that, but it can give us an indication to really expand upon even his manipulation, because there's a potential, now that he has his curse technique available, could he now use a domain expansion if he has access to one? Now you're probably like, wait, why would he use a domain? Well, a domain expansion is a curse technique imbued into it. And if Kashimo couldn't use his curse technique because he's saving it for Sukuna, then he will now have access to potentially use his one-time domain expansion during that period. Moreover, I think as if a lot of people are assuming he has no knowledge on his curse technique, and I think it would be a little weird for him to want to save it if he has no idea what it does. Of course, that could just be explained by, well, we don't really need to know. I mean, people pull out the domain expansions without actually knowing what it does, but I feel as if he's probably had an indication and then decided to use like a binding vow or something to restrict it for when he gets his eventual clash. Now, a lot of this is just rooted in my own personal hype for this fight. I do believe, like I said, Madara versus Manga, while Sukuna versus Kashimo is going to be the exact same type of principle. The issue is, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset, how is he going to take any significant damage if obviously we have things such as reverse curse technique? And well, he isn't. He probably isn't, because I mean, no matter how much damage this guy Kashimo does, he can just use reverse curse technique and heal it all. But I think it's still going to showcase a lot of amazing stuff for the power system. I think we're going to potentially see Sukuna pull out his own lightning bolt, which is something I already said in the previous video. And more than just that, I think it's going to be the perfect example of building up the anticipation of fights by showing Sukuna run the gauntlet on other previous sorcerers. So I ask you again, are you on the Kashimo stocks train or not? Because the boss is leaving soon, and if you aren't hopping on now, it's already too late. So I'm giving you a 1 week's notice. If you want to join the Kashimo agenda of he's going to push Sukuna the most, you are free to join today. If you do not, I can't see you switching sides when the chapter starts coming out and Kashimo is doing Godspeed, dunking on Sukuna until Sukuna, you know, eventually does what he does and then clears up. But yeah, just know, once with base Kashimo, if he gets, I promise you, just one hit, oh my god, I'm going to be so unbearable with the Hikari agenda. It's actually, oh, you're gonna have to get me off this platform. It's gonna be crazy, I promise you, man. Gege, please. Just one hit, just one hit. Oh, I'm pushing the Hikari agenda so much more. But yeah, my Kashimo mans, we're gonna be eating soon. And to all the people who have switched off the bus of the Kashimo stocks, it's too late for you, mans, and don't switch sides.